What's up, Xrp family? Thank you guys for joining the video for today. We have some nice videos for you guys related to the Davos meeting. So we have very high people in high places talking about using Xrp and using a new financial system, guys. It is finally here. We can see the evidence all over the place. It's not even we don't even have to search anymore. It's everywhere. All the papers of the BIS, the IMF, they are all showing hard evidence that Xrp is going to be used and it's going to be a bridge currency. Now here we have some very interesting stuff. SEC is running a node on the Xrp ledger. Let's take a look.
Xrp sits, as I said, on an open, permissionless ledger. How do I know that it's open and permissionless? Because the Chief Technology Officer at Xrpl tells me it is. He explains it to me, but I also have hard evidence. The SEC announced about a month or two ago that they're going to establish a node on the Xrp ledger and other open and permissionless ledgers. The SEC didn't call Xrpl to ask permission to do that. They're just going to do that.
That's a form of decentralization, guys. And decentralization in the eyes of the SEC is one of the key components to actually say that it's not a security. So here you can see, again, things are coming above water, guys, telling us that Xrp was never a security. And it was never about being a security or not. It was always about regulatory framework. They need to have a kind of a framework for other cryptocurrencies on forward going basis, and that is why this is happening. Here we have always a pleasure to meet Brett Garlinghouse, WEF, guys. Brett Garlinghouse was there, and why do you think of all people that Brett Garlinghouse gets invited to talk about cross-border payments, about Ripple, about Xrp? Why do you think he's the only one there from the whole cryptocurrency space?
Ripple,
Here we have a very interesting video. Ripple Xrp fan Brett Garlinghouse at Davos, January 19th, 2023 on finding the right balance for crypto. Let's take a look.
You are the only, you're a regulated entity, or you're speaking on behalf of a regulated entity. When folks talk about, these different sorts of provisions, you are the person or your various teams doing the paperwork, providing evidence of baseline trustworthiness. What is it like to be a non-bank financial services provider operating at the intersection of these very traditionally regulated financial institutions and less traditionally regulated, less traditional financial institutions?
It's exciting. I feel a obligation to advocate for. There are these new technologies that we can use for the betterment of economic value to our citizens, to our businesses, even to central banks. And I think to the extent we can focus on, hey, these are new technologies that can be used in that way. Like the earliest days of the internet, can these technologies be used in illicit ways? Yes, and certainly we saw the early days of the internet and people called for bans of the internet.
And to be clear, the current days of the internet as well.
Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah. Well, although there was a much louder, higher decibel level call in maybe the 90s when people were, I think, more intimidated by how these technologies are being used. And I think we're seeing that play out in the world of blockchain as well. I thought it was interesting you described the UAE regulatory as light touch.
Said it was described as light touch.
Oh, described as light touch, all right. I actually give huge credit to the UAE.
Do you have a VARA license?
No, we do not. Although we might, I don't know the exact answer to that, but we do not currently. The point I would make, though, is...
You do not.
Thank you. The point I would make, though, is the UAE has done the work to codify what the regulations are. I think the challenge, and we discussed this before we got up here, I think the vast majority of players in the crypto space want to be good actors. But I think we have to be clear about what that means. And I think one of the challenges is, and I very much agreed with something the commissioner said, we talk about regulating crypto. I think we should, that's an abstract thing to say from my point of view. We need to regulate the activity. What is it that we're doing? So Ripple is in the business around cross-border payments. Our customers are banks. Our customers are regulated institutions. You can't have a non-KYC, know your customer transaction, et cetera. There are lots of regulations around payments, like know your customer, like AML, anti-money laundering, like OFAC compliance in the United States, et cetera, anti-terrorism finance. So I think when we say crypto's not regulated, I hear that and I think, I don't know what that means. Like Ripple's a very regulated company in lots of different jurisdictions, not yet in UAE perhaps. Although I don't know the exact status in UAE. The point, as much as anything, I think it's a misnomer to describe crypto as an unregulated business. In the US, you have in the SEC someone at the chair saying it's the Wild West. Look, there are clearly examples where that's true, but there are a lot of people solving real problems for real customers and taking the air and the froth out of the hype and speculative bubble that really was true in crypto, I think is really healthy.
I think one of the challenges here is there are actually very few people describing crypto as an unregulated business. What they're saying is that it is insufficiently regulated and that there are certain types of activities, separate out the obvious and egregious fraud, scams, and grift, but there are certain types of activities that are either being presented to customers as potentially safer than they are, or the promise of guaranteed returns when there are no such thing. Or in the US, for instance, many investors in certain of these crypto companies, several of which have now gone bankrupt, were under the impression that their deposits were insured by the FDIC, which is that up to $250,000 of whatever the deposits were would be protected. And that was an impression that was in a lot of ways encouraged by the marketing and the advertising of certain types of these entities.
But we have laws about that, right? And now, well, frankly, I think instead of going after Kim Kardashian for promoting
that case was dismissed.
But I didn't actually know that. I think the things you're describing, and even we talked again backstage, like if there's fraud, we have laws about that in major
But I think
jurisdictions.
what I would love to get the perspective of the commissioner on is,
See guys, and this is why people who are not in crypto are so misinformed. What Brett Garlinghouse is trying to tell here, that regulation is actually there for other reasons. Because what is Ripple actually doing? Ripple is doing payments. There are a lot of regulations in payments. It's not like Ripple can just do anything they want because crypto is unregulated. See, and that woman doesn't really understand that. She goes back to FTX. See how they are always grabbing the negative, guys, from crypto. And again, these are people, they are misinformed. They do not understand crypto. And this woman clearly doesn't understand what she's talking about, because she's saying that it is insufficiently regulated. There are many countries where crypto is actually regulated. But the problem here is, guys, and of course there are things happening with crypto which are scams, but they are also happening in other industries and they are not being talked about. That's the problem here, and that's what Bart Garlinghouse clearly doesn't like. You can see it, guys, that he's trying to defend crypto here. He is trying to say that crypto is actually something good, and he is right, because in the beginning of the internet, many people like this woman were actually criticizing the internet. Look where we are today. No one can live without the internet. And it's going to be the same with Ripple, guys. The same in the way it's going to change payments. They're all going to look back and understand what was really happening. Here we have November 2022, Treasury Committee UK, oral evidence, the crypto asset industry's Susan Friedman, head of policy Ripple, teaching them about XRP. Let's take a look.
In token.
But that's the nature of those isn't purely speculative, it's as an investment thesis.
Susan.
Say the FCA in its consultations recognize that the fact that individuals may speculate in tokens, in unbacked crypto assets, does not detract from the reason for which they were created, and its taxonomy turns on an analysis of, are they an exchange token, are they a utility token, are they a security token. Ripple uses an unbacked crypto asset for cross-border transfers. XRP is specifically designed to help facilitate the transfer fiat to fiat, stablecoin to stablecoin, etc. And I think as we look at regulations, certainly there needs to be a recognition, and I think everyone has it, that there is speculation. Consumers need to be protected. But there needs to be nuance built in to acknowledge the fact that the tokens, many of these tokens are built, as Tim noted, for specific projects, have specific value propositions, and that is what should be regulated, the business and the risk attached to it.
Again, guys, see, we came back to the same point, right? What is Ripple doing? They're doing payments. They should regulate payments. That's where they should regulate Ripple. But to regulate XRP in itself is a very difficult thing to do, because people will always buy out of speculation. But that is not to blame on XRP or Ripple, because what does Ripple do? Ripple is just using XRP to make cross-border payments efficient, right? This is actually the discussion right now, and it's very obvious that you can see that XRP is clearly not a security, guys. Thank you very much for watching the video, guys. See you in the next one. Cheers.